Many video games will try to place obstacles in your way that will impede your progress and make you work for that hard-earned victory. A staple for many video games over the years has been in-game enemies. These are coded into the game as non-static barriers or obstacles that the player will have to overcome to push forward through the game. As a gamer with at least 20 years of experience, I've been able to come across many different baddies in my favourite pastime, and I thought I would share with you some of them that have stuck and made an impression on me and many other gamers over the years. This list, much like the others I've uploaded on this channel, will only be for fun and entertainment purposes only, so if I missed any enemies that you wish were on this list, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below and discuss them with other viewers. Now without further ado, here are 10 scary or disturbing video game enemies. Let's begin. I've mentioned the Dead Island series on this channel before, in another video that I've done in the past titled 10 Disturbing Easter Eggs in Video Games, so I'll keep this brief. In Dead Island, you play as an immune survivor of a viral outbreak on the island of Hanoi, who has banded together with other immune survivors to fight through the nightmare. You can play this game solo, or you can play it with up to 3 other players to battle through the horde and uncover the truth behind the grisly mystery, but strength in numbers won't make it any easier. While the normal infected that are roaming around the map can still be a threat if you're not wary about them, there are other threats lurking around the corner. I'm referring to what is known as the special infected. These zombies come in many different shapes and sizes, but they also have their own advantages and abilities. There are the rams, who can run you down in the blink of an eye, to the suiciders, which can explode and kill the players if they get too close, as well as the butcher, which can rush down players and rip them to shreds with their gnawed-off hands. While each special infected does have their own unique weaknesses, it'll be up to the player to figure that out on their own, hopefully without dying in the process. The Binding of Isaac is a top-down indie roguelike game developed by Edmund McMillan, where you play as a little boy named Isaac, who must randomly go through generated dungeons to escape the one person whose sole job it is to protect him, his own mother. Pretty much the story goes as such. One day, Isaac's mother starts hearing a voice from above that she believes to be none other than God. This strange voice announces that Isaac has been corrupted by sin and must be cleansed. His mother does so by taking away all of his belongings and locking him away in his bedroom. The voice then shows gratitude, but then asks for one more thing from her: to sacrifice Isaac as proof of her devotion to the Lord and Saviour. Without hesitation, she goes to the kitchen to retrieve a knife, and then storms into Isaac's room, preparing to take his life. Isaac manages to escape through a mysterious hatch that he finds under his rug, and then explores the underground labyrinths with nothing more than his tears to defend himself. After the player completes enough levels, and dealing with a few of her attempts to stop him, Isaac must confront his mother once and for all. Talk about breaking your poor mum's heart. The idea of your own mother, the woman who gave you life, being contorted into a bloodthirsty maniac is enough to fill anyone's mind with dread. Maybe that'll help you remember to show your mama a little bit more respect if you don't do so already. Mother Nature can truly be a beautiful thing, but even she can be proven to be merciless and unforgiving. In The Last of Us, you follow a man named Joel who survived an outbreak of a strange fungal infection which attacks the brain, known as cordyceps. Based on a real-life form of fungus under the same name, the fungal growth enters the body either through bites or scratches from an infected individual or through direct inhalation of spores in the air. While the first stages of the infection are pretty nasty already, the later stages become an even bigger problem. Roughly after a year from being infected, the host will have a thick fungal growth on its head, creating some sort of armor, but taking away their ability to see. These infected are known as clickers because of the strange clicking noise they can create. This is actually a form of echolocation that has been observed in various animals in real life, such as bats and dolphins. That doesn't mean they're any less dangerous. If the player is not cautious enough, or accidentally makes too much noise while trying to sneak around them, the clicker will sense them and quickly rush them down, where the player will potentially panic and be taken out within seconds. concept behind the Fallout series is a pretty messed up one when you think of the potentiality of a similar catastrophe happening in real life. The Fallout games take place in different parts of the United States after they've been bombarded with countless nuclear warheads, rendering the landscape almost unlivable. Almost. In Fallout 3, there are these disgusting creatures known as centaurs. These abominations were created by combining FEV, or what is better known as the Forced Evolutionary Virus, with humans and other animals such as dogs and cats to see what the virus would create. The end result was this horrific creature that would end up being used by the supermutants, as the centaurs see the supermutants as their masters. Trying to survive a nuclear wasteland would be difficult enough as it is, with each job you do from day to day being a means for survival. The last thing you would want to see is a group of these abominations with their giant masters making their way towards you. There's a lot of amazing things that players have accomplished over the years in a game known as Minecraft. From building functional machines like giant walking houses and working computers powered by redstone, to creating replicas of famous pop culture places like Middle-earth from the Lord of the Rings series to Harry Potter's Hogwarts. It's truly amazing what people have pulled off over the years. Most players like myself and friends of mine, however, prefer to play with the survival and exploration aspect of the game. Similar players who play in the same fashion as us will understand why this entry is on this list, because they also have shared experiences such as this. There are many hostile enemies in Minecraft, ranging from more human-like characters such as illagers and pillagers to more creepier ones like spiders and skeletons and zombies. Oh my! But there is one enemy that has caused so much strife and frustration amongst players that it's usually the first enemy or character in general that players think of when they think of Minecraft. I am of course talking about the creepers. These creepy little shits have a near dead silent approach, and by the time you hear their hissing there's nothing left but a smouldering crater of blocks and XP from the player that just got reduced to atoms, or pixels in this case. Players aren't really sure what the deal is with the creepers, like where they came from or what they even are, but one thing we can all agree on is how much of a pain in the ass it is when you finally finish building the house of your dreams, only to have them congratulate you by singing the song of their people for your hard efforts, or what's left of them afterwards.
Look at this tall tree. It's nature's majesty. Would it be so bad if someone blew the f*** out of it?
I am Andrew Ryan, and I'm here to ask you a question. Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow? No, says the man in Washington, it belongs to the poor. No, says the man in the Vatican, it belongs to God. No, says the man in Moscow, it belongs to everyone. I rejected those answers. Instead, I chose something different. I chose the impossible. I chose rapture. A city where the artist would not fear the censor, where the scientist would not be bound by petty morality, where the great would not be constrained by the small. And with the sweat of your brow, rapture can become your city as well.
Bioshock takes place in the underwater city known as Rapture. Rapture was an underwater paradise created by Andrew Ryan, a man who wanted to create a place where no one would be restrained by things such as censorship, morality, and politics. A place where people could freely do whatever they wish. But that idea came crashing down very quickly as the underwater colony fell into ruin and chaos. Crazed creatures that resembled humans known as splicers started taking over, and those who tried to fight back were slaughtered. Not all creatures in Rapture were splicers, however. There were children of all people, known as the Little Sisters, but Rapture had become a battlefield and they needed protection from the splicers, and that is where the Big Daddies came in. Big Daddies were genetically enhanced human beings who had had their skins and organs grafted into armoured diving suits, with the Alpha series being an exception to the grafting process, though still heavily spliced. These primary purposes were to protect the little sisters while they were escorted around Rapture, collecting a substance known as Adam. Throughout your gameplay, you will run into these metal behemoths, where they will be following around the little sisters, keeping a watchful eye on them like the massive metal guardian angels they are. They're usually docile if you pose no threat to the girls, but as soon as they catch you eyeing them off for their Adam, you better be prepared for the consequences.
That's the big daddy. She got his Adam. He keeps her safe.
Well, the mountain don't belong to me, it's true. But it don't belong to the Washingtons. This mountain belongs to the Wendigo.
Who?
What's he talking about?
What the hell's a Wendigo?
Let's hear him out.
Not like we have a choice.
Now, I'm only gonna tell you this once. It doesn't matter to me if you believe it or not. There is a curse that dwells in these mountains. Should any man or woman resort to cannibalism in these woods, the spirit of the Wendigo shall be unleashed.
Personally, I believe what makes this entry a lot more unnerving than others in this list is that there is actual folklore and legends about these creatures found in Native American history and some parts of Canadian history. In Until Dawn, you play as a group of young adults who must survive on Blackwood Mountain until dawn, while defending themselves from horrifying creatures known as Wendigo. These creatures have very poor eyesight, so they rely on movement, much like some dinosaurs, hence the don't move quick time event that is used in the game. What they lack in vision, however, they make up for in speed and strength, as they can tear your head clean off your shoulders if they get their bony, ice-cold hands on you. As I mentioned before, these creatures in the game are most likely inspired by folklores of First Nations based in and around the East Coast forests of Canada and the Great Plain regions of the United States. Some stories differ from place to place, but some share the common theme of cannibalism amongst humans, or a benevolent spirit that possesses people which they proceed to commit murder, or a culture-bound syndrome known as Wendigo psychosis, a form of psychosis which has been said to have symptoms of an intense craving for human flesh and the intense fear of becoming a cannibal. The idea of feasting on your fellow man is pretty messed up to begin with, but some people will do anything to survive. Sometimes the price to pay is to become a monster figuratively, or quite literally. In life, some things that are left alone for a reason, and we should not delve into things that we have little or no understanding of. That is what the crew of the SS Ishimura learnt the hard way when they found and brought aboard a strange artifact that had brought nothing but death, destruction, and horror with it. In Dead Space, you play as an engineer named Isaac Clarke, where you must explore the ship and uncover what happened to the crew, all while fighting the side effects of the same artifact that was brought on board that is slowly driving him insane. There was a fate worse than death for the crew, however. Those who were not mutilated beyond recognition or torn apart were changed into these unknown hellish creatures known as necromorphs. These things were human at first, but were twisted and contorted into these bloodthirsty beings. What's even worse is that this strange phenomenon that created these creatures doesn't discriminate on the bodies it uses, and there are many kinds of necromorphs because of this factor. There is the Slasher, one of the most common morphs you'll come across, that will rush you down and tear you apart within an instant. The Leaper, which is able to jump great distances with their strange tail. The Brute, a giant mass of corpses that form together to create one large creature, and possibly the most disturbing form by far are the Lurkers. These little necromorphs are mutated human babies that can crawl on any surfaces like walls and ceilings, all while launching projectiles from the 3 large tendrils that sprout from their backs. I don't know about you, but if there's ever a chance for humans to freely explore space, I think I'll just stay here on Earth where it's safe.
Kill all sons of bitches. That's my official instructions.
This used to be a nice neighborhood!
Even though I like any sort of media that is zombie related, I have to admit there seems to be a few too many zombie games around lately. Which isn't really a bad thing, but they all end up being the same. One game that did get it right, however, is Left 4 Dead 2. With its balance of challenge and replayability, I've lost count of the amount of times I've revisited this game. Not to mention the never-ending possibilities that comes with mods on PCs. You can change the form of your guns to the characters you play as, and even what the zombies look like. But that doesn't change the feeling of uneasiness that washes over you when you hear that all too familiar sound coming from the darkness. Picture this. You've just finished hacking and slashing through hordes of the undead, only for the gunfire and the infected screaming to die down, and you can almost hear a pin drop in the silence. And there it is. The crying. If this is your first time playing, you might have just assumed that you found a lonely survivor, drowning in the sorrows and pain of what she has lost. But trying to investigate and slowly raising your flashlight to her may be the mistake that brings your playthrough to a grinding halt. You slowly lift your light to get a better look, only for her crying to intensify into a blood-curdling scream as she reveals her massive blood-soaked claws and sprints at you at breakneck speeds, downing you instantly and possibly slaughtering the rest of your team if they don't put it down in time. You have unfortunately just had a run-in with a witch. These small and skinny but surprisingly strong and speedy zombies don't pop up quite a lot, but they make you regret them pissing them off very quickly. One simple mistake for not paying attention to where you point your light, or one stray bullet going the wrong way and hitting her will send her into a frenzy, where you either take her out, or she takes you out. I've placed this entry at number 1 for a special reason. Resident Evil 4 is a game that means a lot to me and has a big place in my heart when it comes to video games. Resident Evil 4 on the PlayStation 2 was the first horror game that I had ever bought myself at the age of either 13 or 14, after I watched my older brother and his friend play Resident Evil 5 on his PS3. Since then, I've played and beaten the game so many different times and on different platforms that I've lost count, but it never gets old and it is still fun as it was when I played it many years ago. I've grown to love many things about the game, like the main character, Leon S. Kennedy, to the inventory management system, and the amazing moments throughout the game. But there's one enemy that I still dread running into, even when I'm nowhere near the first encounter with it. The countless Ganados, mutated animals, and even the dreaded Chainsaw Sisters are nothing compared to this horrifying regenerator. The creatures are infected with the Las Plagas parasite and live up to their names, as they can rapidly heal from injury and even regenerate lost limbs. As long as they still have their head, which can be removed and also grow back, they will jump at you and rip your throat out. The only way to kill them is by destroying each individual parasite within their bodies that can only be seen with a special infrared scope that can be attached to either the bolt-action rifle or the semi-automatic rifle. It probably doesn't help that the places that you do run into these creatures are rooms and buildings that are pretty cramped, and at most times you have no choice but to deal with them. There have been other creatures in the Resident Evil series, such as the Rascalapange from Resident Evil 6, but the Regenerator will always have me saying nope as I let the door slam down shut, hopefully on this fucker's toes, which, come to think of it, they'll probably end up growing back anyway.
No thanks, bro.
And there you have it, 10 disturbing or scary enemies in video games. I hope you all enjoyed this countdown video. I plan on making more of these videos in the future, so feel free to leave any video ideas that you would like me to cover in the comments down below. This video would be the third of its kind on my channel so far, so if you'd like to watch the previous countdown videos I've made, you can click the 2 links here and here to find those videos. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, it would mean the world to me if you did so. and make sure that your notifications are turned on so you don't miss out on any future videos or streams. Also, feel free to check out other videos of mine as well, ranging from playthrough series, funny moment montages, and other dark videos such as scary story videos. I'm Symbiote Sully, and I hope to see you all again in the next video.